maybe, Kylie, if we could start just with each of you, just maybe introduce yourself, introduce what you do, who you are, and maybe just give us a little bit of that for a moment. That'd be great.
Sure. My name's Kylie Smith. For those that I haven't met yet, I look forward to meeting during the next couple of days. What I do in the world, well, 3.5 years ago, or probably 4 years ago, I was full-time pastor on staff with David and others, and he asked me to step out and do my own business, which usually that happens the other way.
I promoted her onwards. No, I'm kidding.
So I was like, what does that look like? And I didn't know, as often the faith journey is. And so now, 3.5 years later, I call myself a soul liberation consultant. So I work in the area of the soul realm. I was having a beautiful conversation with Suzette yesterday, challenged me or encouraged me to de-Christianise my language and work both with Christians. I work in church and in the marketplace around the area of our soul. So our mind, our will and our emotions, and I do retreats. I educate on overcoming, particularly after trauma and abuse, and retreats, workshops, educate. I speak. In the last 12 months I've been overseas probably 12 times, like just the fruit of that, and that took time, but I know I'm doing what God put me on the planet for. So
you're also an author. You wrote a couple of good books.
Yes, written 2 books and another couple in the making.
That's great.
Yeah.
What about you, Bev? Tell us a little bit about you, maybe your background.
I have a science background in which I worked for a while, and then should I just say where I work? Yeah? I worked with my husband. He started a music distribution and record label, and I worked with him for a few years, and then I worked in real estate, and then I went back to science for 10 years or so, science education, and then I worked in childcare, and now I edit and I publish books.
Yeah. Man, doing great things. So maybe since you got the mic, Bev, so you've had this journey of business, and obviously, we're talking about in these couple of days, we're really talking about the place of prayer and intercession. Can you unpack a little bit of that journey about that space for you? What, like prayer, intercession, what does that look like? What's kind of, maybe a snapshot of your take on that space for you?
I think, like when you ask the question, like Dave sent us some question, he said, how do you see prayer and intercession in your life? And I guess that's like asking me, how do I see talking to my husband or talking to my children or talking to my friends? I can't imagine not praying. And I think that has definitely evolved over the years. Yeah. It probably used to be much less, and more a list from me, and often maybe a habit and a duty. But it's definitely become more worshipful, more, a lot more authoritative, and a lot more listening. Like Suzette said, how we've been speaking, a lot more listening, lots of listening. I'm learning to ask questions, because that's such a great thing. And I think when you have a habit of prayer in your life, it's like taking vitamins daily, so that there's not when something challenging happens, it's not like call the paramedics. You've been doing it. You're strong. Your connection with God, you're getting to know Him, getting to know how He knows you and loves you. And it's really like a dance. God showed me this beautiful picture of how, when you first learn to dance, you kind of wiggle around to the music on the dance floor. And you learn to actually approach your partner like you approach Jesus, and you come close and you allow him to posture you, and you follow his lead, and becomes a beautiful dance together. And it's kingdom on earth, really.
I love that. I love that thought of the dance. You know, one of the dimensions of the Trinity is perichoresis, which peri means circle, and choresis means a dance. And so the Trinity, God himself, invites us into a divine dance with himself, which is funny because the word sin actually means to come out of step with the divine dance, which is really powerful, you know. So I love that analogy. Wow, it's amazing. Yeah. Carls, what about you? Prayer, intercession, like talk to us a little bit about that in your world. What does that look like?
So prayer for me is like a dialogue. I do it not casually, but I don't say "Thus saith the Lord." Like it's how I talk to a friend. So I do it sort of. I'm quite disciplined, so have my time in the morning and so forth of prayer. But then I talk to him all day, listen to him. What does he want to do? Intercession is a little bit more formal, I guess, like than the casual, and when I say that, I do it reverently, but he's my, father, best friend, king, saviour, he's all those things, so lover, all those things. So in intercession, that's, as I said, a little bit more intentional, and so it's aligning, which we've heard so beautifully from both Dave and Suzette today. It's aligning with the Father's heart and the Father's lens, and been going on a journey of that for a long time, about having the lens, seeing the way that the Father sees the person in front of me. And it's such an honour to be part of this amazing spiritual intelligence, to get to pray for some of these amazing people in this room and beyond. I love how you worded it in the last session, Dave, like it's like a bridge. You didn't use the word bridge, but it's like we're seeking and aligning with the Father's heart, and revealing the Father's heart, not through, the four of us and five, including David, are all very wired very differently. But it's about representing the Father's heart to that business person in every area of their sphere of influence, their business, their family, etc. And yeah, I love being part of that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I think for me, prayer and intercession has been something that's evolved, and I would say that as a young believer, I was classically trained to, every pastor that I ever had preach a message on prayer would be like, well, you got to get up early in the morning and, spend your 1 hour with Jesus. Maybe it's 30 minutes of prayer, 30 minutes reading the Bible, and then write in a prayer journal, and then you can go to work, right? And I don't know if I was all that consistent with that one, by the way. It was a bit, it didn't work for me. A couple of things. I was a business person, so, especially when you start up business, right, like 14-hour days are just what you do. And so the thought to get up then another hour earlier, it wasn't that I didn't want to pray, but then I got smart after about 10, 15 years, and I thought, hang on a second, I think these pastors get paid to pray, and maybe they're praying at 10 in the morning, like 10 in the morning, I'm at the grindstone. These guys are at church reading their Bible. I'm saying that all facetiously because I'm a pastor, so I know that's not actually what happens. But in the end, I remember I said to God, I'm in my late 20s, and I'm bored out of my brain with this trying to attempt to pray for 1 hour, because it's the classic, could you not tarry for an hour, right? And I'm bored out of my brains. We're like 35 minutes in, and I say to God, oh God, I can't do this anymore. And I feel like I hear the Spirit of God say, thank God I can't either. Like, I'm like, oh, I think God's bored as well. Oh my goodness, let's not do that. And so then it became like Bev was like, okay, God, I don't think I know what I'm doing here. You know, like, what are we going to do? And I just felt like God say, stop trying to pray, and how about have a conversation with me? And honestly, that changed everything. Like, it changed everything, because then it was like, I didn't know you were allowed to pray in the car. You're like, I thought that was cheating. I mean, I wasn't praying with my eyes closed, right? Like, I learned how to pray with my eyes open, but I didn't know you were allowed to do that. I didn't know you could pray and walk with God. Like, just, I didn't know you could do that in your business. I remember running a cafe, and when there wasn't any clients behind the counter, while I'm cleaning the counter, I'd be praying, talking to God, having a conversation, saying, gee, I'd like a couple more customers, thanks. You know, like, no, like, you know, like, prayer all of a sudden, rather than this ritual, became this life thing. And then I read that bit in the Bible where Paul says, pray unceasingly. I mean, what does that mean? Does that mean I speak in tongues for 24 hours a day? Like, no. What does it mean to pray? Prayer isn't the thing that I say. It's a connection to God that I maintain. It's my awareness, my ever awareness when I'm playing with my grandkids, or doing a business deal in the boardroom, or having a negotiation with a staff member, that I am in prayer. I have one foot on the earth and I have one foot in heaven. And I'm, you know, I remember Billy Graham once on Oprah Winfrey. She says, Oprah Winfrey asked Billy Graham, she says, what are you thinking when you stand in front of, because I think he'd been the pastor of 4 presidents or something like that. She said, what goes through your mind as you're standing in front of a president as their pastor? And Billy Graham said, the same thing goes through my mind if I'm standing in front of a president or a cleaner in an office. He said, the question I'm asking as they're talking is, Jesus, what do you want to say to this person? Which I thought, oh, wow, that's prayer. Like, that's prayer. So Bev and Kylie form part of half the team of our spiritual intercession services, which is where we come alongside business people, entrepreneurs, and we partner with them, undergirding them in their prayer. And we operate with Google spreadsheets. We have like all the prayer points for their businesses, and then we have another section where as they're in prayer, they'll bring some thoughts, prophetic impressions, and it's a Google Live document, so the CEO or the entrepreneur can look at it every day or every week, or at the end of each month, I send them a whole summary of that prophetic intelligence. I think we launched that February last year. So Carl, I suppose a question for you would be, you have a number of different business people that, like, from different industries, different size companies, all that sort of thing. What would be something that was you've discovered in this, intentional marketplace prayer? Is there something you've discovered or that surprised you in it, maybe from when we began?
Yeah, I remember I was so excited when you asked. I've always been passionate about prayer and intercession, and so loved it. But I was like, how am I going to come up with a word for someone or a scripture? All these people every week, 52 weeks a year. Hello. And the Lord said, as he does, I don't have to. I actually have to partner with the one whose thoughts outnumber the grains of sand. So every person, his thoughts for you outweigh the number of grains of sand. So I don't know if you've ever tried to pick up them and count them, but I just need to partner with him and align with him, which took the pressure off. Great. So it's not about me. And again, what I said earlier, it's about revealing the Father's heart to these beautiful people, and it's an honour. Yeah. So that was my biggest realisation, which I'm sure everyone in here would have got earlier.
Yeah. No. What about you, Bev?
I was also worried about I knew that God had a lot to say, but that would I be able to hear what he was saying? And I have been pleasantly surprised to know, one, that he has a lot to say, a lot. as Kylie says, grains of sand. And he's amazing. You just have to say, ask a question. You just have to enter his presence. You just have to start. and he tells you, and he talks to you. And another thing, I am just amazed at how much God wants to connect with the person I'm praying for. How much He's interested in every part of their life, not just their business. Their business is just a tiny bit, but he's interested and wants to love them in their family, wants in their as husbands, wives, as fathers and mothers, as leaders. He wants them.
Yeah.
And he wants to know that he loves them. Yeah.
Amazing. The good follow-on question to that is, like, so in John 10, Jesus says, my sheep hear my voice, I know them, and they follow me. It's powerful, right? He doesn't say some of my sheep, right? He doesn't say only the super anointed ones. He doesn't say the ones that have gone to Bible college or the ones that, like he just says, my sheep hear my voice. So whenever I hear someone say to me, oh, I don't hear the voice of God, I say to them, that is an impossibility. It's impossible. You do hear the voice of God. Maybe you just don't know how to discern it. So, because this is the question I want to ask. Because the second part of that is, my sheep hear my voice, I know them. In other words, I love that because God knows how to speak to me in my language. Like, respectfully, God doesn't speak to me in Slovakian, but he does to Stefan. And so Stefan will say, David, God speaks Slovakian. I say, no, he speaks English, and we're both right because he knows us. So I always say, God's not trying to speak to you. That's why when you hear a testimony of some super prophet, don't try and be like them. That's not how God speaks to you. So this one says, oh, well, the angels dance on my head and that's how I know. No, that's for them. For you, like, God knows you. He knows your language. He knows how you're wired. So how do you, Bev, for you, like, how does it work for you? Maybe give us some handles because we're practical people. How do you discern the voice of God in prayer compared to your own voice or your own thoughts? How does that work?
Yeah, I think that it was really important for me to work it out and to discern it because I think a lot of thoughts, as I'm sure, we do. Very busy mind. And then, well, firstly, I thought I don't have to stress too much about worrying, are these my thoughts or are they God's thoughts? Because he kind of leads me in my thoughts. So it's okay. It's okay. The only time I know they're not my thoughts is if I am praying and discerning and I'm being a bit judgy. And then I know, no, whatever comes out of that, no. Mm-hmm. And then I had to figure out how he speaks to me. And that was super important too, because if once you figure that out, then you know how he's talking to you. And for me, I see things, or they're words and seeing.
Images, yeah.
Images. And the images thing is really great because I know when I get a picture in my head, it's from him, because I can't make that up. The trick is to figure out why he gave me the image.
Right.
And to discern what it is that he's wanting to say. And I think it's when I started out in this, I would give the person the picture that I saw. And it's not really helpful. Because God, oh my goodness, he speaks in pictures and metaphors and puzzles and mysteries. And it's really cool to be able to figure it out. And then to have the spiritual intelligence attached to that.
That's great.
Yeah, there was something else I was going to say about that, but I can't remember what it was.
Sure.
Yeah.
Siri's trying to figure it out for you. ChatGPT. Wow, that's cool. It's all right. The Spirit's moving. ChatGPT's firing up. Spirit's moving.
And also the other thing is practice.
Practice.
Because, the feedback you get from people helps to confirm that you are actually listening.
Yeah, that's
You're actually
great.
hearing.
That's great. What about you, Kyles? How do you discern Kylie's voice versus Jesus' voice?
I've never heard the audible voice of God, but I don't ever remember, and I don't say this with arrogance, I say it with humility, I don't ever remember from a young girl not hearing the voice of God, sensing it, knowing He was with me, hearing His voice in a sensing. I see, I sense, I love how He's uniquely wired every one of us differently. So He'll speak to you differently. So like Dave said, not to compare with anyone else. So I know His voice is so different to mine because it's kinder, it's wiser, much more profound. I have a very simple faith. So, it's beyond myself. So I know His voice. And again, when I see an image or sense something, without sounding like a broken record, it's coming back to revealing His heart, not through my filters. What does He want to say? And usually that starts, again, practice, is by start praying. I start praying, like He'll often say, give me an image or a word for this person, just one word. I'm a detailed person. I want everything, not just one word. But when I start praying, then He'll just speak, and I know when I'm praying, when it starts my words and when it overtakes and it's His words, and there's life to that. So
amazing. I have two things that help me discern the voice of God. I'm a thinker, so I've got words running through my head all the time. And usually what happens is a line or a sentence, like I was saying this morning, something will get stuck in my brain and it won't go from one ear to the other and out. It gets stuck and then it goes on repeat. And so that's one of the signals that I go, I better pay attention to this thing. So that's one of the ways that I discern the voice of God. The other way that I discern God's voice is when I hear His voice, it's like inside of me gets full of something like faith. Like all of a sudden, I'm emotionally I'm wherever, but I hear something, and all of a sudden something inside of me is like faith just comes, and it could be a ridiculous thing, but the substance of faith, what Lisa was talking about before, Hebrews 11, like all of a sudden I go, that's more than just an idea. Because, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm like you, right? I get an idea everywhere I go. I always say to people, I go to a restaurant, like we went to a restaurant last night at Terrigal, great restaurant, but the moment I walked in, it was like, I figured out 3 ways to make this restaurant better, And I was sitting there looking at the menu. I'm going, gee, I wish the boss was here because I could tell him what to do with the menu. And, and it's just like, it's not even my business. Why am I trying to fix this guy's business? So I'm an entrepreneur. But all of us, that's a difference from when I'm praying or just whatever going about. I pray a lot in the car. I don't know if you're a driver, but I pray a lot in the car. Bev was saying about not talking so much in prayer. I definitely talk less, but I actually pray a lot. Now I'm just going to say it this way. I pray a lot in the Spirit. There is a correlation in my life that whenever I pray in the Spirit in an unknown tongue, whenever I do that in an increased manner, all these things in my world, really unbelievable things, begin to happen, right? And it frustrates me because I'm like, but actually I feel like I know why that happens, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm a prophetic guy. Whenever I would discern God wanting me to do something, I would begin to declare it out immediately. And then what would happen, see if this happens to you, all this warfare would come against me, right? Like I'd be like, God, I discern that you want me to do this in the business. Then all of a sudden, hell breaks loose, right, around that thing. And I'd be like, oh, now I've got to fight devils, right, around this. The thing hasn't even been, it's almost like trying to cut it off, right? And I remember one day as I was in prayer, I felt like the Lord said, do you know, David, the devil can't speak in tongues? And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a weird thing to say. And I felt like the Lord said, and he doesn't understand tongues, only I do. And I was like, okay. And he said, when you have that sense of prophesy, I want you to prophesy in tongues first. And then what happens is all of a sudden these things begin to happen in my life, like come together, favour. And by the time the spirit world, the darkness, realises what's going on, it's too late. I'm already in. Like it's like it's a lot harder to cut me off at the knees. So I don't know if that helps you, but I got to tell you, in business, that's helped me a lot. Like I had an idea. And I sat on it for 3 years and I prayed it out loud for 3 years. And the week I launched this idea, I was a small business person, right? A multinational company launched that same week that idea. And it wiped me out. I couldn't do it, I was like, how? And that's happened many times in the early days when I used to prophesy my ideas. Like somebody else would open the business or somebody else would take that opportunity. And I'm like, God, what's going on? Like, are they praying too? But it wasn't that. It was that, it was all of that. So, Kylie, since you got the mic, if you had, I don't know, a room full of business people, maybe 60 or 70 of them, and, you had a minute or so to encourage them in their prayer lives, like what would you say to them? What would be, hypothetical, of course, if that ever happens, like what would you say to them?
Something that God's been talking to me about for probably a decade, but more I've seen the manifestation of this year in particular is alignment, and we've heard that a few times this morning. Alignment, being in alignment first with heaven, with the Father, but also asking Him what I need to let go of, what I need to take hold of. This year He asked me to let go of something that was a heart's desire, something where my soul was wrapped up in and thought was the promise of God, and He showed me that it wasn't in alignment with Him and asked me to let go of that, which brought pain, which brought prayer, which brought support, people in this room. But when I let go of that, something happened. 2 things that seemed impossible in the natural, long term, I'm talking over decades, to come to fruition. One happened 3 weeks after I let go of this relationship, and one happened 4 weeks later. Supernatural things, the impossible. So every day now I say, God, what do I need to let go of? What do I need to take hold of in order to make this day your day and be in alignment? Because it's in that alignment that flow happens. It is divine, and I've seen it outwork this year.
It's great. You should write that down, and so when you're in a room with 70 business people, you can tell them that. What about you, Bev? Same hypothetical, if you're in a room with 70-odd business people and you had a minute and a half to encourage them in their prayer in this before the Lord, what would you say to them?
Just do it. Just do it. Just start. You have to. You can't afford not to, because the Spirit that is in you is greater than the spirit that is in the world. And partnering with God and His Spirit in you will cause you to flourish and thrive. And it's actually incumbent upon us. it's our responsibility to align ourselves with the Spirit of God on the earth so that the sons and daughters of God can be revealed, so that you can make an impact for His kingdom on the earth, and that you can bring the government, as Suzette has been speaking to us about, bring His government upon the earth. So yeah, just do it.
So good, so good. On your tables, I put a little flyer there that just is a bit of an introduction to the SIS services. It's got a QR code. If it's something that you'd be interested in having a conversation about, no obligation, of course, please scan the code and just send me an email, and we can have a chat about that. There's a number of people in the room that are part of this, and they've got their own stories in the midst of that.